Hi guys, good morning. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining, Dawn. Good to see you. Not seen you for a while. Thanks for joining in. We're just going to give it a couple of minutes, guys, probably till 10:33, 10:32, and then we'll get going. Just wait for everybody to join. Good morning, Lourdes. How are you? If you can hear me clearly, could you just pop a thumb up in the chat just so I can make sure that you can hear me? Or just a simple yes in the chat, just making sure everyone can hear. Perfect. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much. Apologies, Dave. Thanks, Jade. It might be worth trying to leave Dave and join again, maybe, if the others can hear. Might just be a slight issue. The one's struggling as well. Okay. I don't know if it's worth for you, Dawn, maybe joining, leaving and joining again, maybe, unless you can hear me clearly. Okay, just give it literally 30 more seconds. If anyone else joins, we can then get started. Hi, Francine. Thanks for joining. Oh, perfect. Let's get started. Thank you for joining, guys. Really appreciate it. So look, today's webinar, our second one of the year, is all about improving your business development to make your final quarter count. What does that mean? Essentially, we are in the prime time selling of our annual calendar as a B2B organization. And from this day onwards, you've probably got 87 days, including weekends, to get your pipeline and your uh, lead generation funnels filled. Okay, you've got 87 days before the 13th of December, I think, as when everything will start to slow down. Okay, why is it the busiest period of the year? Because most B2B businesses have their new budgets created at this point, and they're also in the market to purchase new services. So, what we want to deliver today is a small presentation, no longer than half an hour, to really help you all understand how you can maximize these 87 days and generate the leads or the pipeline that you're looking for. Okay, so just a simple question using the chat function. Who on this call is doing some form of business development activity, whether that be lead generation, whether that be sort of building relationships, going to events, or just yes or no? That'd be really useful.
What I did. It looks like some other people are having problems as well.
Yes, law, technical, perfect. Ian's doing some work on the BD side. Anyone else? No, we've got a few quiet people in the chat, have we? Perfect. All right, cool. So, and between the two of you, if you could just maybe list some channels that you're currently utilizing, that'd be great as well. So, what are you doing? So, whether that be sort of attending networking events, having a referral strategy, you know, LinkedIn networking, door to door, brilliant. Ian, yourself? attending networking events using LinkedIn. Brilliant. Okay, perfect. So look, what we want to do today, what we're going to essentially cover is the following, okay? Referrals in the main. Okay, nice. So we're going to be looking firstly at why outbound lead generation strategies are crucial for B2B businesses. Doesn't matter the size of the business, 500K turnover, 5 million turnover, 15 million turnover, 50 million turnover. There are some key challenges to business growth, and not having a secure outbound strategy in place is one of the key reasons for that. Every great sales organization, every great marketing team will have control on their outbound channels, which gives them the flexibility to dial up when they need to and dial down when they need to. We're then going to actually look at what is business development, because I assume everybody on this call has some sort of different idea as to what business development is, and it's a range of things. We then want to have a look at the key outbound channels to help you gain control over your lead generation. What are those outbound channels? How do we use them? How do we maximize the use of them? And when do we implement business development strategies? When do we delegate? Or when do we outsource? Okay. These are all statements that I'm going to make based on conversations we've had for the last 6.5 years whilst we've been trading with businesses. And there are a few key moments when businesses either need to delegate, outsource, or get a VA or a PA on board to assist them with this kind of activity. And finally, the golden stuff. Okay. So curating messages that gets answers. We speak to too many businesses where they are talking about their business to their audience and they keep telling me, Coach, nobody's coming back to me. But it's a pretty easy reason why nobody's coming back to them. So that's the schedule of play. I like to start all of our webinars, if you visited one before us, to actually aligning what is lead generation. So we deliver some strategy sessions to boards across the country, whether that be two managing directors, or on the large side, it could be 16 board members in a room. And this is a question that I always like to ask. And what you'll typically find is the sales director, the marketing director, the managing director, they'll all have a different take on the answer to this. So, firstly, before you try and generate leads, before you engage in business development across your business, from cleaner to managing director, you need to define what lead generation is in your business. And from sector to sector, that may differ. But if we don't know what a lead is, we're never going to actually know what we're looking for. Okay, so firstly, we try and define a lead using something we call the BANT structure. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this before, but we want definition of what is the right budget for us, the authority, who do we need to speak to, who are we speaking to, the need, what is the need for this lead to engage with us, and finally, the time scale. Now, you may have 4, 5, 6 different product offerings. Each of those product offerings will have a different BANT structure in place. That's budget, authority, need, timescale. Once this is defined, you can then create the strategy to generate leads. Okay. When we're generating leads, internally, and a lot of our clients, they define lead generation the following way. Okay. So essentially, what we say is the buyer has the world at their fingertips. They can find out who provides what solution with little to no effort. I know we've got targeted SEO on this call. They do some great work. We refer quite some work their way. So that's where they come in handy. Okay. The sort of, I guess, top of funnel, online. If somebody wants to buy something, they'll help you get there. All right. The best way to capitalize on this is to be in front of your prospect before they need you. We refer to it as a two-tier combination of top of funnel marketing combined with laser precision targeted outreach. A lot of businesses are doing top of funnel. What they're not doing is the laser precision targeted outreach, because it is hard and it takes high level of concentration, good strategy in place. Okay. What you're going to generate by having two of those channels in place, you're going to pick those up buying today, which is what we all want. Those leads that are ready to buy right here, right now. The second outcome, we're going to build relationships with those who are aware, but they're not necessarily ready to buy from us now. And then we're going to be educating and building awareness with those who aren't yet aware they need you. Essentially, if we give it 6 months, fierce focus, you're going to have a living, breathing pipeline. The leads that you're not generating today is not a problem of today, it's a problem of 6 months ago. So if you're not generating any leads, it's not happened overnight, it's what the activity was 6 months prior to today. Okay, so you can take your business's own take on this statement, but essentially, we need to have 1, 2, or 3 goals in place rather than just we want people buying. Okay, because then we're not incentivizing every piece of outreach to have a result. So moving on to our first point. Why are outbound strategies crucial to your businesses? So, a lot of you are doing referrals, you're doing networking. What happens, I speak to a lot of businesses, variation of size, when the cards are down and they need business to come in, the networking and the referral dries up. When you're doing well, the referrals will constantly come through and your network will also provide you leads. What you can't do with referrals or networking is go into the room or go to your community and become desperate. Because if you become desperate, the referrals are going to dry up and people aren't going to want to work with you. So, what do we do in times of need? Well, if we don't have an outbound strategy, we sit there, we panic. We create a strategy, but in reality, the strategy should have been created 6 months prior. We wouldn't have the problem. So referrals and network is great. It's a very dangerous way to grow your business because essentially your network will one day run out and the referrals will eventually dry up. Okay. They are brilliant additions to a lead generation funnel or a business development funnel, but we don't want to become reliant on them. Okay. And what happens is essentially businesses of all sizes they'll reach a point, depending on how big their network is, and then they'll run out. Okay. And if you are a transactional business, then it becomes even tougher because you're relying on more referrals, more networking. Okay. What are the three reasons outbound strategies are important to your business? Firstly, they're scalable. Okay. So if you know I can make this many phone calls, speak to this many decision makers, have this many decision makers interested, that will give me X amount of leads. So if you're making 100 calls and you're getting 2 leads, well, technically, if we're making 1,000 calls, we should be getting 20 leads. It's very easy to scale an outbound strategy once the numbers work for you. It's all data driven, it's all KPIs. Okay. So working out the percentages, and doesn't matter what channel it is using for your outbound, but working out the percentages from initial engagement, point of interest, meeting booked. What are those numbers? What are the percentages? Because then all you've got to do is turn the dial up and turn the dial down. Okay. I've in my past worked at large corporate organizations with 700 sales guys, and all they are doing is watching KPIs. Okay. Because they know every month 15, 20 people might leave. So don't get me wrong, the culture wasn't great, the business wasn't great, but the numbers worked for that business because they had strict KPIs in place. Number two, target specific audiences. What's another problem with referrals and networks? How can you know who you're talking to? How can you know the business has a 10 to 15 million pound turnover? Your colleague, your friend might give you a referral that they think's brilliant. You can't go back to them and decline the referral because you're just not going to get any in the future. With an outbound strategy, you can dictate your target market. You can dictate the data set you are targeting. So ensuring that we are targeting our specific data set, our specific demographic, our specific targets. Okay. What I see a lot of is, oh, I'm just going to turn up to a show. Well, that's great. And it's an important part of marketing and lead generation, but you don't quite know who's going to be at that show. And it goes back to not having a laser precision targeted outreach in place. Within your business, around 40 to 50% of your revenue will be made up of a bit of everything. Your top of funnel marketing, something that comes into the business, referrals, networking. But 50% of your revenue will come from your key accounts. These are the accounts that are going to change your business, that are going to grow your business. So if there's no strategy in place to actually target these key accounts, then you're never going to get them. You're missing out on that growth. All right. And finally, in relation to both, you have control. You can sit there in your monthly board meeting with your sales and marketing teams, with your managing directors, with your fellow directors, with your colleagues, and actually sit back and forecast. You know, there's multiple people on this call that have probably been in a situation where they get to actually looking at the numbers and there's a bit of panic. Look, we wouldn't be in business if that's never happened to us. But if we've got an outbound lead generation that we can turn the tap on and off with, we'll have control. We know how to react in times of needs if one or two big contracts fall away. So, firstly, they're scalable. We can target our specific audiences and it gives us control over our business. Okay. I always say the best businesses, the best sports people, they have control. And I always relate at this point, I always relate lead generation and sales to, if you like football, you'll get the reference, is the Barcelona side and the Spain side 10 years ago when they won everything. They won everything because they didn't care how the opposition played. They always had control of the ball. They were in control. And if we're in control, our sales and marketing function won't fail. Okay, so scalability, targeting specific audiences, and control. A question I get a lot: what is business development? So some people will answer the question, business development is telemarketing. Someone will say SEO. Someone will say creating processes. Someone might say networking, referral. Business development is all of these things. Essentially, it's a strategy that helps a business grow by identifying new opportunities, building relationships, and creating long-term value. Okay? A BD should not be sat on the phone all day, every day. That's the job of a telemarketer or a sales executive. A business development manager or a BD executive job is to create relationships. So, where are you hanging out? So, for example, one of my clients did quite a lot of work for local parish councils. We essentially helped him understand where the monthly or the bi monthly meetings were for these parish councils, and he was sending his sales guys out to go and attend these. Okay, it's open door because it's a local parish council. They're not selling directly, but he's just talking or she's talking to people after the meeting finishes. You get to know people within the parish council. They then start to generate a lot of work. So rather than sitting on the phone and trying to get through to the parish councils, we were sending our client out to these meetings to actually meet these people face to face, build that relationship with them. Okay. Are you hanging out where your prospects are? Essentially, is what I'm saying. How many times are you getting up to the Excel when there's an industry specific show on because you want to target those people? Are you going to the NEC? Where are you hanging out? Are you around the people you want to work with? Or are you just behind the scenes hoping a referral comes in, hoping some networking works, maybe a couple of phone calls work? So, business development is the whole picture. It's a strategy that helps a business grow. Okay. And hopefully that aligns for you guys what I mean by business development over the next 87 days. So, what are the key channels for outbound lead generation or business development? So, these are essentially the three channels that, as a business, we sort of specialize in. Okay. But what I want to just go through is if we're sat in our office, we're looking for business development, we've got 87 days, which we spoke about at the start of this call. So, how to actually generate the most efficient leads. Well, there are three channels that are going to sit alongside you visiting your prospects and being around your prospects. And they are, firstly, email marketing. Okay, so what should we be using email marketing for in a business development strategy? So, from my perspective, I'm not a fan of sending out 10,000 emails, part of a sequence, and hoping somebody replies to us. Okay, it's very dangerous for your brand if it's not done correctly. Okay, so we believe email marketing should be used to educate our audience and familiarize the audience. Okay, and if they want to come back to us, in terms of they have an inquiry, that's fine. But let's not bombard their inbox. I'm sure we've all got junk folders full of rubbish that we never reply to. Okay. That's dangerous for our brand. So our brand comes first. So we use email to educate our audience and to familiarize our audience with our business, with our name. Okay. Dawn, for example, you're on this call. Shoyers, local company. We want to educate the local community on who you guys are and also familiarize them with the brand. So they know when they have a requirement, Shoyers is where they need to go to, for example. Number two, LinkedIn direct messaging. Okay. So, firstly, when we're using LinkedIn direct messaging, it should be no longer than 75 to 100 words. This is so important part of your strategy as a B2B business. This is where your buyers hanging out. Okay. So, keep the message relevant. Don't waffle. Okay. I get some horrendous messages. Relevant, beneficial, and a clear call to action to generate that lead. LinkedIn, I don't care what anyone says, is a great opportunity to generate leads if done correctly. Okay. People are busy. If we can keep the message relevant and highlight the benefit to the individual, they may come back to us. Okay. I get a lot of messages when people are selling, but they're trying not to sell. They're the worst messages. If we're looking to sell our services, be honest about it. Don't try and build a fake relationship. I got one the other day. I'll just watch your YouTube video, and we've not uploaded a video on YouTube for so long. So I knew straight away it was just a little play to try and get me to reply. Okay. So keep the LinkedIn messages relevant, beneficial, and a clear call to action. What do you want from the individual? And finally, probably the most efficient tool in marketing is the telephone. Okay. There's probably nowhere else you can maybe directly speak to 120, 130 of your target audience in one sitting, in one day, in one working day. Why should we be doing telemarketing? Firstly, it gathers intelligence. You can pick up on what your target market are doing, how the industry's moving, what maybe you need to change in terms of your offering so it's relevant to those people. We can generate leads through telemarketing. Of course we can. So speaking to people and really understanding what their band structure is, the budget, the authority, the need, the timescale, booking them in for a meeting, going to visit them. And finally, relationship building. There's nothing bad that can come from a telemarketing call done correctly. Okay, if it's done correctly, the brand's name's getting out there and a relationship is being built. Okay, we've all taken horrendous telemarketing calls and they do nothing for us. But if we can conduct the calls correctly, part of our strategy, maybe follow up with an email, something in the post, an invite to a webinar, whatever that may be, you'll be in a position where a relationship is being built. So we're looking at telemarketing, LinkedIn, and email marketing as our three key outbound channels. Of course, we've got Google Ads, Facebook Ads, SEO, Expos, Postal. There's so many other forms of marketing and lead generation, but I'm talking about the three outbound channels, okay, that we should be implementing into our business. When should I implement a strategy or when should I outsource? So look, the answer's simple, okay? If you haven't implemented a strategy, you need to implement one. You have 87 days, which is tomorrow's going to be 86, and by Thursday it'll be 85. Okay? Come January, you're probably not going to see the clock move until 20th, 25th of January. By then, February, and next thing you know, Easter comes into play. These are your 87 days. I know I keep banging on about it, but if you do not have a strategy, you need to implement a business development strategy. Okay? Or when should I outsource or delegate? Now, there are multiple reasons why businesses would outsource to somebody like us or other businesses that do similar. There's a lot of us. All right. Now, there's three key reasons when it comes to outsourcing. Okay. The first one is the business owner or the business decision maker has realized there's a time challenge within the business. Okay. Lead generation is being put on the back burner and it's not consistently being carried out. So at this point, what happens is they look internally and they go, right, we've been saying we're going to generate our own leads for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. They look at the stats and actually nobody's got an outbound strategy in place. Okay. So time is a big one. We're all busy. We're all trying to grow our business. But like I said, the problem today started 6 months ago. Never think the problem today has started a week ago. It's 6 months ago. Lack of activity. Do the activity, the numbers will take care of themselves. Reason number two is knowledge. Some people may not know how to implement a lead generation strategy. They may not know where to start. A lot of our clients are brilliant at what they do operationally. They struggle with the sales and marketing. They need someone to tell them what they need to do. That's where we sort of come in. And finally, they may just have a lack of resource. So somebody on this call might have a strategy that works for them, but they may have lost a key member of their team. So what you would do is you would outsource or delegate for somebody else to pick that up rather than yourself. Okay, so look, if you haven't got a strategy, you need to implement a strategy. And if you can't get around to actually doing the strategy, you need to outsource or delegate that strategy because it's the most important thing in your business is your sales. Without sales, you do not have a business. And a lot of what I'm seeing is business actually approaching me having a long-term relationships. Now, long-term relationships eventually come to an end. The business might sell, the individual may leave the business. So you can't sit there and say, no, we're secure, we've got a long-term relationship in place. You just don't know what's going to happen. If that 200, 300, 400,000 pound contract gets pulled from under you, your business is in a tricky situation. So we need to make sure that we have control over our destiny and it's not in the hands of somebody else. All right. Follow that. Look, if you would like a 30-minute free consultancy call just to sort of understand how to implement a strategy into your business or any help with an existing strategy, if you put yes in the chat function, Jade's on the call as well. She'll email you afterwards to book that in. I'm happy to spend 30 minutes with anyone that's given me 30 minutes of their time this morning to sort of understand what strategy you're currently doing and look at actually helping you implement one into your business if you haven't already. All right. So just or email afterwards, whatever's best for anyone on this call. Okay. And finally, we move on to does your messaging get you answers? Okay. So I speak to a lot of businesses where they think their messaging is really good and they don't actually generate any opportunities, whether that be through their LinkedIn messaging, their scripts, their email marketing, the messaging when they go to their networking events. or if their messaging on their website is wrong. A key thing that I see a lot of is, we have been trading since this, and this. Nobody cares, okay? Because essentially, what people want to know is, can you help them with what they need help with? I looked at a client's website the other day. It started with they've been trading since 1975. Since the journey, they've had 5 directors and some. It's great to know as a credibility validity point, but not straight away. Okay, our messaging needs to be clear. So if we haven't worked on our messaging to improve our business development in this final quarter, it's something we have to look at. And what we need to understand is, what does the buyer want to know from us, okay, before we create the messaging? And there are 4 key things that a B2B buyer wants to know. Firstly is capability. Are you capable to deliver what you say you're going to deliver? Okay. And a great way to showcase this is through case studies. Okay, if a client approaches you, you've got a client in a similar position, provide the case study. It ticks that box straight away. So for our messaging, we need to showcase capability. Second is dependability. Are we going to turn up when we say we're going to turn up and deliver what we say we're going to deliver? Okay, are we dependable? Number 3, integrity. Okay, do we have integrity within our business to tell our clients when it's not working or when it needs to change? Okay, a lot of people get asked for case studies, and a lot of people always give the glowing case studies. Well, actually, the best case studies are maybe when it didn't start so well, whatever work you're doing, and you managed to sit down, re strategize, and fix the problem. That shows a forward thinking business to a B2B buyer. Okay. Any half decent B2B buyer will understand that things will not always go to plan. But as long as you can showcase integrity that you're happy to fix it, that would be very helpful. And finally, intimacy. Okay. How well do you know your prospect? How good's the relationship? How well do they know your brand? How familiar are they with your brand? Okay. So 4 things that are really important for when a B2B buyer purchases anything. They're looking for capability, dependability, integrity, and intimacy. Okay. Which leads me on to my last point regarding messaging. Okay. Pain-based messaging. I'm sure you've maybe seen this somewhere. Other people talk about it. Essentially, to give you a really quick understanding on how a B2B buyer's mindset works is, there's 3 types of emotions that they're going to buy based upon. Okay. So they're going to buy either because they're in pain, okay, they're seeking thrill, or they're fearful. Okay. Now, I would go as far as saying 85% of B2B businesses sit in the pain sector. So a good example is in marketing companies, IT companies, accounting companies. Okay. We can do our own accounts, we can do our own IT, we can do our own marketing, but we might not know how to do it. Okay. So we have pains in our business, so we outsource that activity. You then have your thrill-based businesses. A good example of this is corporate hospitality. Okay, they're selling us thrill. So when we purchase something like corporate hospitality, we're happy. Okay, and finally is fear. When I talk about fear, I talk about things such as insurance. I talk about security, fire services. Anything that sort of has fear attached to it. Now, the hardest one to market out of the 3 of them is pain-based businesses, because it's only a pain. There's no urgency. With thrill, essentially, if the budget works, okay, and I always use the example, I'm a big Man United fan, don't slate me for it, please. If I wanted tickets to the FA Cup final, which I did, I got reached out to. It all worked out. I was free on the day. I wanted to go. I really was interested in going. The only thing that didn't work for me was the 5 grand a ticket price. Okay. So if the budget works, selling based upon thrill is quite easy. You don't have to build the urgency, which is the hardest part of selling. It's already there. Fear is really easy to sell. It's hard to sell ethically. That's the trick when we're selling a fear-based B2B service. If anyone on this call is, your challenge isn't selling it because it's easy to sell, but it's remaining ethical. And often these markets will be regulated, hence why you have to remain ethical. The majority of us will sit in the pain-based bracket. Now, the hardest thing about selling a pain-based service is creating that urgency. How do we create that urgency? Okay, we create strong messaging based on the emotions of our prospects. Okay, we use an acronym internally called FUDWAC, and I'm just going to go through that with you to give you an understanding of how maybe you can create some really strong messaging that taps into the emotion of our buyer. Because as we know, the emotional side of the brain engages with a service before logic does. Okay, so we need to emotionally capture our audience for them to buy from us. Okay, so that's FUDWACA. Okay, so the F stands for frustrating or frustration. Okay, the U is upset. What are they upset about? The D is disappointed. Okay, what are they disappointed? W stands for worried. What are they worried about? A is for anxious. What makes them anxious? C is concerned. What is making our buyer concerned? And A is angry. What is making our buyer angry? If we can utilize those emotions and create some pain-based statements based upon them on how you can help them overcome their frustrations, their worries, their anxiety, their anger, their concern, their disappointment, the fact that they're upset, you will emotionally have your buyer bought into your services. Okay. And that's something that you have to get right before you take your business to market in Q4 in this last quarter of this year. Okay. So we need to create pain-based messaging that's going to encourage our buyer to engage with us. And a good way of doing that is the rule of three. So you might have a statement such as typically, our clients work with us due to one of three reasons. They are A, B, C. Do any of these challenges relate to you? So you're spelling out the challenges that a business would approach you with to your prospect so they can come back to you and say, actually, it's one of them three. If we say, what are your challenges? They may turn around and go, well, I don't know you. I don't want to admit my faults to you or my pains to you because I'm a senior decision maker in a business. So why should I tell you why I'm struggling? And they might not feel comfortable doing so. If we can psychologically make them feel part of a bigger group, we can say, clients join us for this reason, or that reason. It's easy for a human, for our psychologists, from a psychology perspective, it's easy for us to actually engage and go, do you know what? I'm part of that group, or I'm part of that group. So make it easy for your prospect to reply. Don't ask them directly, what is the challenge? Because people won't reply to you, they don't know you. But if you can give them some reasons that they might be struggling with, it showcases you understand their industry, you understand their pains, and you're giving them an easy message to answer to. So pain-based messaging is really important. Finally, what's really important, guys, okay, the lead generation landscape is changing, and as forward-thinking B2B businesses, we need to adapt the way we engage with prospects. Remember, the buyer has the world at their fingertips, and it's our job to ensure they know about us before they know they need us. So we need to have a successful outbound strategy in place to ensure our business development improves over Q4, the last part of this year, 87 days, to generate pipeline leads and opportunities that's going to keep your business busy until probably just before Easter and a little bit after Easter. Okay. This is the time to be selling and to be implementing lead generation strategies or business development strategies into your business. Does anyone have any questions at all based upon that? I've come to the end of my short presentation. Hopefully, there's some value in that for you guys. But if you have any questions, please use the chat facility. I'm more than happy to answer. No worries, Dave. Hopefully it was, yeah, useful, and hopefully you can hear me by the end of it. So appreciate you joining. Thank you. Obviously, of course, if you don't have any questions, feel free to ask a question via email later. Anything you need from us, let us know. Obviously, you've given me half an hour of your time. If you want half an hour of my time, email me myself, email Jade, or put something in the box. More than happy to sort of come back to you and book that half an hour in. Um, thank you, Lourdes. I appreciate you joining. Cheers, Ian. Thank you very much. No worries, Dawn. Thank you for joining. Appreciate it. If you guys are done, obviously I'm done from my end as well. So feel free to sort of leave the call if there's any questions coming through, like Francine's just asked the question. Do we use Facebook Insta, or TikTok, as well as LinkedIn. Look, they're all viable channels, okay? But for a B2B business, LinkedIn is where you need to be, okay? Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, they generate leads. I'm not a massive expert in that space, but what I would say is if you need to speak to someone regarding those channels, Francine, I can put you in touch. But as B2B businesses, LinkedIn is where we really need to be spending our time. No worries. Cheers, Dave. Thank you. Cheers, Kelly. Thank you. No worries. That's all, Francine. Brilliant. Well, look, I think there's no more questions. Appreciate you guys all joining. As I need anything after, get in touch, and hopefully you guys have a great. Oh, Harry, who do you try to call? Okay, a few questions. Right, Harry, who do you try to call? Well, look, it depends on who your target market is, Harry. That's a great question. You need to sit down and go, right, who am I currently working with? So you want to look at the business industry that you're working with, the turnover, the head count, where are they based, all these things that make up of a demographic. And then you can use data agencies, Harry, that we can put you in touch with our partner where you can buy lists of these companies. So if you want to phone them, they will be able to filter their data by your criteria to give you a specific list. Hopefully that answers your question. If you want to have a more specific chat about this, let me know. I'm not sure what your industry is, but if I could find that out, then I might be able to give you more of a precise answer. And Ian, do you think LinkedIn Premium is worth having such paying for? LinkedIn Premium's great if you know how to use it properly. A lot of people I speak to don't actually use it as effectively as possible. What I would say is if you have a LinkedIn strategy in place, okay, then what you want to be doing is you want to be using Sales Navigator to be finding your prospects and then engaging with them. What I do not advise is sending them a message from LinkedIn Premium because when that comes through to the inbox, it's very obvious to tell it's not a normal LinkedIn message. And what often happens is, I'm sure we all get them from Booper. I get them a lot about health insurance. It will say sponsored message. Okay. So we want to be finding our prospects on LinkedIn Premium, connecting them on normal LinkedIn, and messaging them through normal LinkedIn. More chance of a response. Harry, you're selling a physical product. Great. Well, look, engineering, manufacturing, whatever that may be, you need to be, evident to your prospects. You need to be getting in touch with them. You need to be talking to them. So what I would say is, if you're selling a physical product, it's about sitting down and going, who's buying this product? What industries are they in? What's the turnover? What's the head count? And maybe purchasing data for those relevant services, for those relevant businesses, and then getting on the phone and introducing your physical product to them. No worries at all, Ian. No worries, Harry. That's absolutely fine. If you have any more questions, buddy, just give us a call or, drop me a line. I'm more than happy to help you out. All right. Well, look, I appreciate everyone turning up. Thank you so much. And we'll speak soon, I'm sure. And Jade will be in touch with our next webinar date as well. So if you would like to attend that, you may do that as well. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day.